Hey young friends, Dr. Bill here. I'm back with another episode in our series of big names in the Bible. For the last several weeks, we have been talking about the things that Jesus did. And today I want to highlight the fact that Jesus did something very, very important. He engaged people in conversation. He talked to people and he listened to them. The Gospels contain numerous stories about Jesus having conversations with other people. There's a story of Jesus meeting with Nicodemus, a very important leader in the Hebrew faith. He had a conversation with a woman at a well in Samaria. And then there's a record of a conversation he had with a lawyer who was interested in some particular questions. If you thumb through your New Testament, you'll find many examples of Jesus having conversations with individuals. For our purposes today, I'm going to give attention to two conversations in particular. One of the Gospels tells us that when Jesus was going somewhere, he was approached by a young man who came up and asked him a very, very serious question. He said, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Wow, that's a big question. Well, Jesus looked at the man and said, "You already know what you need to do. You just need to follow and keep the commandments God has already given you. Don't steal. Don't kill. Make sure you tell the truth. Honor your father and mother." Things like that. Well, the young man responded and said, "Hey, all of these I have done. All of those things I have kept." And then the Gospels tell us that Jesus looked at this young man and loved him, had compassion on him. And he said to this young man, "One thing you lack. Go and sell all that you have. Give the proceeds to the poor, and then come and follow me." Well, when this young man heard Jesus make that demand of him, he turned and walked away. He left Jesus and did not follow him. The second conversation involves Jesus speaking with a man who had been paralyzed for 38 years. The story takes place in the city of Jerusalem by a pool of water in a place called Beth Zatha. And the idea is that periodically an angel would come down and trouble the waters in that pool, stir them up, and if you were able to get into the pool, well, you could be healed. Well, Jesus went to the pool that day, and for some reason he locked in on this man who had been paralyzed for so long. And then Jesus asked him what seems to be a really dumb question. He asked him and said, "Listen, do you want to be made well? Do you want to be okay?" Well, this man responded by saying, well, the trouble is that when the angel comes and stirs the water, I really can't get into the pool because I'm paralyzed. I have no one to help me, and so someone is always getting in ahead of me. And Jesus responded to this man by healing him. He said, "Take up your mat and walk." And the man did. Well, there's some things that we can glean from these two conversations. The first is this: Jesus understood people. Jesus had the ability not just to see what a person looked like, how he or she appeared. Jesus was able to look beneath the surface and understand what was really going on inside of a person's soul. So, for example, when this young man comes and says, "What do I need to do to have eternal life?" Well, Jesus was able to kind of clear out all of the clutter and focus on the one thing that this man where this one man might have trouble following Jesus. You've got too much stuff. And if you want to follow me, you got to travel light. You can't be worried about all of that. And then with the conversation with the man who is paralyzed, as I said a moment ago, it seems like a dumb question. Do you want to be made well? Well, our answer would be sure. But the truth is, sometimes we can get very comfortable where we are. Think about this for a moment. If this paralyzed man, 38 years paralyzed, he was used to people taking care of him, doing things for him. And once he got up and began to walk, he would have to learn a whole new way of life. Are you sure that's really what you want? Jesus understood people. He understood what was going on inside them. And then the second thing that I'd call your attention to is that when Jesus had conversations with people, he didn't talk all the time. He had real conversations with people. He asked them questions. They asked him questions. Jesus didn't suddenly meet an individual and then preach a sermon or give a monologue. He asked questions. What's going on? What are you doing? What do you think? And when people answered, he responded. So Jesus, in his conversations with others, respected the people with whom he was speaking. He didn't engage in a monologue or trying to talk them to death. He wanted to understand them. And that's why he often asked questions. That's why he listened attentively to what people had to say. So I know we might overlook this fact, but the truth is Jesus had important conversations with a lot of people. And what that says to me is that Jesus really and truly cared about others. He wanted to know who they were, what made them tick. He was interested. And just as those stories I've related show how much Jesus was interested in people way back then, he's interested in us today. Well, that'll do it for this session. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again. Not next week, I won't be available, but the following week, I'll be back with you, and we can have another lesson together. Take care, and God bless. Bye-bye.